nearly hour and 45 minutes to discuss an issue of, I guess it would be employment history and or litigation or potential litigation. So just so everybody knows what the reason was. Particularly as I'm supposing some people probably gathered when the individual's walking out of here. But beyond that. Okay, now everybody should have a copy of the, if I can find mine, the agenda. Okay, moving right along, we have minutes from the department head meeting of November 10th and the regular meeting minutes from November 17th, department head meeting minutes from December 9th, and the regular meeting minutes from December 15th. Those are emailed to everyone. I don't know if there are any, I guess what I need now is a motion to accept or approve the minutes.
So moved.
Have a motion by trustee Humphrey, a second.
So moved.
And trustee Rittenhouse, thank you. Any discussion, corrections, additions, deletions? All in favor then, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All ayes. I will be the secretary tonight, I guess.
Doing a good job.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, moving right along, just a couple of items on the mayor's comments. Just a reminder that the county solar presentation will be on January 27th, 7 p.m. at the Government Center in Geneseo. The Village Boards Association is scheduled for February. It'll be hosted by Dansville. I'm still waiting to get a confirmation as to whether or not the other villages will accept a later date so we can coincide this with an opportunity to use a restaurant over on Main Street. They're busy the normal third Wednesday, so I think we're looking at the fourth Wednesday. I was hoping we'd have that information tonight, but Megan being ill, I do not. Just another reminder that Jim Bassey from Empire Access will be here to see me on January 27th at 9 a.m. There's a webinar for the Community Development Block Grant Housing Rehab Program implementation coming up. I have the 21st, and that's the one I'm going to attend. Megan had something else, so one way or the other, we will all hear this, I guess.
The 21st of this one.
Yes. Friday. And there's another webinar from the Department of State Document Management Grant Program, which is on January 28th. And I'll probably listen to that one as well, as long as it doesn't conflict with anything else I got going. Going to committee reports. Under Village Clerk, don't have the action items tonight. I'm trying to remember what we had from last week, if there was anything we still had to have resolved. Recall. Some of them may be taken care of as we go down through the list then. Matthews easement. I think I'm delinquent on that. I need to get that going. My apologies there. That is definitely one thing. The other one is the tax cap override. Oh, I think we're going to make a decision tonight, gentlemen. One way or the other.
Can I still wait out in the hallway?
I'm going to go out and hold his hand. It's a scary hallway.
I'm very scared.
It's a very scary decision. Just for everybody in the room who may or may not be aware of this, the tax cap, as it reads in law, is 2% increase over the year, or the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, whichever is lowest. Well, the Consumer Price Index tends to be lower than the 2%. Last year it was at 1.64, something like that, very close anyway. Mm-hmm. This year it's at 0.12, which is basically
Even.
we can't even increase it. Last year we went over just by assessments alone, with no increase in the tax rate. This year, I would suspect the same thing, if not worse, is going to happen.
Especially at the .12.
Yeah, there's just that's no change at all, really, when you look at it.
And we went over last year without
Without
trying to
trying.
explore.
Without trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just
So-
because you may do a tax cap override doesn't mean you're gonna raise the tax levy.
That's a very
That's
good point.
correct.
All we're
A lot of
talking
people
about,
understand that. The tax levy may remain flat, but it allows us to use the additional money from the assessments.
that's correct.
Just wanted to clarify that.
The budget is in the process of being developed right now, so where we end up is yet to be determined. However, I would suspect that the board is probably going to, I won't say anything. The board is going to look at it very carefully, and we'll make decisions based on that. But as it stands right now, we have absolutely no latitude or any room in the room to move around in, or shoulder to shoulder. And it's just not going anywhere. So I would say we should set up a public hearing. It's a resolution. Everybody should have gotten a copy of that, I believe, a month or two ago. Megan handed it out. If you need another copy, I'll get that. And we need to, that decision needs to be made at some point prior to the approval of the budget. And that could be the same night, on the last day of that we have to approve it, which is the end of April. But I would think we want to get the public hearing in ahead of time. So,
On vacation.
I know it's not an easy decision. We haven't been left with a whole lot of easy decisions. But that's what we get paid the big bucks for. Well, in some job, anyway. So, I'm open to anybody with some thoughts on it.
We'll set up a public hearing sooner than later. It's got to get done.
Yeah. I say the decision won't be until afterwards, so do we want to do it at our next regular meeting?
I think so.
Yeah, and we can get some information out there to the public and, okay.
You want to go at 6 o'clock then?
We certainly can. I'm sure we'll probably have some takers on that public hearing. Sort of like the water and sewer bills.
I'm still paying my doctor bill.
It's, it's not easy, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen here. It's, but, we've kept the tax rate flat for years, and we're being bit by the low oil prices. That is really what it boils down to.
Yeah, unfortunately, we need the flexibility to work around that, given, what's coming down from Albany. They've left us no choice. We at least got to create a situation where if we need to act on this, we're in a position where we can do it.
I
So
agree.
I agree.
Okay.
our hands are tied.
Okay, so we'll go with 6 p.m. on February 16th. Okay, public safety. If there's nothing else under legislative, with Trustee Whitenack.
Code enforcement, we have her report and feedback from her.
I got one piece of feedback.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just an update on Save-A-Lot. Tammy came in, I was reviewing the bills.
Oh,
And she mentioned that now they're not on schedule to open February 1st, but the new schedule is to open the last weekend of February, first weekend of March, so that's the new target. But they're still moving along.
30 days late, better than not having them there at all.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
As long as they're not pulling over.
yeah.
She also came to me later after Trustee LeBar had left with a letter that she is sending to the Zoning Board of Appeals. There's a question concerning dog kennels, or the number of dogs that one can have on a piece of property. And it was a good question, actually, but she wanted the Zoning Board of Appeals interpretation before she said anything more. Right now, it's 3 adult dogs, Charlie?
Yes.
Yeah. And she was questioning whether or not, if a premises is the parcel on which somebody lives, or is it an apartment? She's talking here about apartments because she knows of at least one place where they've got 4 dogs. You know, different owners, but they're all on that one parcel. So she just sent this today, so there's no answer on it, just so to let you know what she's up to. There's some questions. It's a question that never came to my mind because I don't allow dogs in my apartments. But
Well, you'd almost think you'd want to go parcel, because otherwise, if you had 4 or 5 apartments, you could have,
Yeah.
Dogs or-
you know,
Th-
3
three of
dogs
these-
apiece. If you got 5 apartments, you got 15 dogs on one property.
Yeah.
You're
This-
back
the-
to
Yeah.
this building in question has 4 apartments, 3 of which have dogs, one of them has 2 dogs. So all of the individuals are within compliance. If it's the parcel,
Right.
then they're out of compliance. And that means the 4th apartment can't have any dogs.
that's up to the landlord.
Yeah. But they say we're already over 4. Anyway, just so you know, that she's thinking. Okay.
Okay. Great.
Yes.
I don't have anything, you got the reports. So we're just working through the grant right now, getting everything in, actually. Some things on back order, but the majority of it's here, so. Wait for invoices.
So you got to stand in the hall for 45 minutes to tell us that,
Yeah,
huh?
thank you.
Actually, he was doing his report. No, he wasn't.
And I want to say thanks for putting up with us. I appreciate it.
We appreciate all you fellows do, and gals.
Am I excused then?
You certainly are.
Thank you.
See you next month.
Okay, Charlie, you're up.
I think on the agenda, there was a question about just authorizing the sale of the car when the opportunity presents itself.
Mhm.
So I don't know when you want to work through that. And then I just had 2 questions from last week as well.
Ask the questions.
Okay. The questions were, how do you want to handle the training for future officers? And if they're only part-time, are we training them with a limit of 20 hours a week? Or are we training them as a full-time option? Recognizing full-time, it kind of dawned on me today, full-time isn't necessarily only 40 hours. If you're doing field training, you catch a call that's worth having them hang over, they might be here 42, 44, 46 hours to handle that, to learn during that call comes in. So I guess the question would be, if we hire a part-time police officer, are we limited to training them only for 20 hours, or are we limited to training them as we would a full-time position?
I'll defer to our 2 police officers on the board here as to what their opinions are on that.
They don't get overtime over 40 even though, do they? Straight time, correct?
Is it considered part-time?
Those are part-time.
Right.
My opinion would be to train them at the 40 hours, to get them trained, to get them out so we can actually utilize them. Try not to go over the 40 hours because it could be an issue with personnel, but we're short police officers. And I'd also ask for a very good consideration to make sure they're getting the best training available on the busiest shifts available, as well as, not having them on, let's say, day shift with them, walking the ladies from here over next door or something, busiest shifts, best exposure, and then at the 160 hours, which is the New York State minimum requirement, we start assessing the fact of shadow and see where they're at, if we're going to shadow them or if they're, because I don't believe right now we have the ability to afford a 16-week project.
And I agree.
Afford what?
A 16-week project right now.
No.
New York State requires a 160-hour minimum, and I believe that we should stay within, try to, of course, not shoot for the minimum, but do our best to allow them first 160 hours to be not standing around the office and more in the patrol area, not doing court, not doing escorts, having them on the road, responding to complaints, traffic, things of that nature is the quickest way to bring them along, rather than, at the office. I'm not gonna tell you how to do it, but you can appreciate the fact that the more time they are, pushing a patrol car around, the better they're gonna be. Now, if that means, we're gonna hope that our part-time officer is willing to work different hours, different shifts or whatever, recognizing the fact that they're gonna be working the busy times. to get the best exposure.
And it could lead to a full-time,
Oh, yeah.
you know? I agree.
So my discretion, that's really what it comes down to.
Do you have any officers in mind?
I'd be willing to come back and help do the training if you'd like, but
You can't.
I volunteer.
You can't. Thanks, but no thanks.
Nice try.
I tried.
Well, there's probably a dozen applicants, but of the dozen applicants, probably 6 due to criminal histories or terminations and so on and so forth aren't feasible. And then of the remaining half dozen, 2 have the full academy, 2 have phase 1, and the others have nothing. So,
You got the 2 I put in your box today?
no, I haven't seen those yet.
There are 2. One we've talked about before.
And as long as they're under the understanding that it's for a part-time position,
Right.
and if it works out, so I mean, if we had multiple people right off the bat, because I would like to see part-time as well, I mean,
Yeah. And that brings me to my second question. Is the village interested in having someone that needs academy experience, phase 2 particularly right now?
again, we spoke last week in regards to this, and you hire somebody and you give them a patch, and you can have them on the books for a year before they actually have to have that. They then have the ability to take themselves to training, just as as a full-time police officer, any part-time police officer would. If it's the right candidate.
I guess the thing to do is take a look at it. Make your recommendations based on what you feel are the best qualifications.
And see what's out
And
there.
then bring your recommendations to the board. The board will sort it out from there. I think that's something we need to take into consideration. If you got somebody that's shows a lot of potential.
And they want to work in Dansville, they care about this area, they're all about Dansville, then we're all about helping someone. I mean, if it's somebody who's from East Rochester who wants to work in East Rochester, then in my estimation, then East Rochester would be a place where they would be seeking a badge or a patch to go to the academy. But if it's somebody who's from Dansville, who wants to be in Dansville, and they're, not necessarily a Dansville resident, but their focus is here, then we would be very interested in helping them out, because they're going to in the future hopefully help us out.
And that's what we ran into when I was working in the department. People who had applied, and many who had taken the test, were from Monroe County. And they had signs all over it that, you do your year here at the village at taxpayers' expense.
Yep.
And get the experience, and they're headed north.
It's just wasting our
Making
time.
twice the amount of money, and they used our money to either go to the academy or just that year's paycheck, one or the other. So I agree with, what Dan says too on that.
Dick and Dick, got anything you want to add to the conversation?
Very supportive of what I just heard.
So just make sure I'm clear on it. I'm just going to hear it one more time, just over from past experience. So
Understood.
the possibility does definitely exist for a person to attend the academy. There's a possibility for the rate, if a candidate is qualified, we would be open-minded to that.
Yes.
I would be, yeah.
Yes.
And the second part on training is if we're in a position and the recruit is in a position or the applicant's in a position, we would be willing and desirable to train them on a full-time basis.
Yes.
Okay, very good. That's all I had.
Okay.
And their FTO while they're in the academy would still be something that, it would be considered academy time.
I got you, okay. That's a good question, that's a good point, because that would come up. I think.
Because their FTO and part of the police academy is, I think up to 120 hours.
I don't remember what.
It's, I think it's gone up. It used to be like 80, but now I think it's 120 hours of field training, which means
Now,
you got to come and ride around.
The FTO, that's Field Training Officer?
What's that?
Yes.
Field Training Officer that stands for? Or?
Well, FTO is just field training. The FTO is the field training officer that they ride with.
Oh, okay.
But part of that is that we call it the FTO program. So they're going to have to go out and basically field train. And as we were discussing with, let's say a police officer is going to come out and they're going to, they're going to have the patch, and they can attend training as they see fit, on their own, just as a regular police officer could. Then they could always do that field training would still be part of that.
Right.
And then that's a great way to gauge that point.
That's all I had.
Any word on the car? How about all the stuff that goes with the car when the car shows? Has that been ordered
Somebody's
and
here,
in?
Somebody's still got to be ordered. Somebody's here, and somebody still has to be ordered.
Can we make sure that we have whatever that stuff is? Because I know that we have on here that we want to authorize the auction of the PD vehicle, but we want to make sure that we have the next PD vehicle ready to go, even though the other one's probably not going to be going far from the back parking lot anyway.
I was gonna say, it's not going anywhere.
But I mean, if we can get anything that we can get ordered so that when that car comes in, it's as smooth a transition and as quick as we can to get in the fleet, because I know that our vehicles are, as I've said before, in dire need.
Yep.
So if you could make sure that we have everything ordered, ready to go, so, because that thing should be showing up anytime.
And the other one won't leave until the other one.
Right.
The old one won't go until the new one's here, ready to go.
In fact, since we're on that topic, why don't we entertain a motion then to that effect, that once the new one is on board,
And
ready to go, the chief is authorized to go out to auction on it.
Is the
The old
old
one.
one running right now?
Not really, it's sitting out
Battery's
there.
It's not doing anything.
It's got all the junk on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But you could probably jumpstart it if you needed it.
Exactly.
So I don't think we should get rid of it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be your dummy car.
Yep. You never know what could happen.
And get Lowry's to tow it to. Sorry.
I'll make,
I'm with you.
I'll make a
I
motion
wanted
to.
to.
I'll, yeah.
Like
whatever.
Robin Humphrey,
Yeah, I agree with what.
trustee Humphrey.
So moved. Just-
Second.
Okay, Humphrey, and House, second.
You've got it all lined up.
Okay.
We're doing the turnover.
Any discussion?
Who's gonna do the auction, or what's the,
Oh, we can,
is there somebody we're using?
we could,
What are we doing with it? Whatever past practices.
I know they've done, before we went to that,
well, we've advertised stuff, and then we've also gone to auction with it.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot.
Usually around $600-$800.
but didn't we do an online or a web site that?
Why don't we, at this point, just authorize then that it be for, to divest ourselves of that piece of equipment at that time, and at the, whatever seems to be the most convenient method. Then we can actually, as it gets closer.
Whatever we did before.
Mhm. Okay. So, divest, I like that. Or declare excess, surplus.
Digest, flush, whatever you want to do.
Digest.
All right. Is there any more discussion on that particular topic? If not, trustee Whitenack.
Aye.
Trustee Labar.
Aye.
Trustee Rittenhouse.
Aye.
Trustee Humphrey.
Aye.
And the mayor's an aye. Okay. Anything else, Dick?
No, I don't believe, did we get the, I know we had, what was it?
We
We had
had,
worse, but we didn't have.
didn't have Weidman's. I don't
It's in our
recall.
boxes. I picked
Is
it
it?
up tonight.
Okay.
You wanna look at it?
Okay. No, just, see if we got it.
Yeah, she was hoping to come in between the time everybody got out of the office till the time we started our meeting, but she called, she was in really rough shape, and Karen didn't even recognize her. She's got strep throat, I think, and whatever else goes along with that.
That's it?
Okay, budget, finance, and audit, trustee Labar.
So I'm assuming we don't have any budget modifications?
I have not seen any,
Okay,
so,
we'll have that done in the next meeting.
yep.
Okay, wastewater treatment plant capital project, MRB Group Engineering Services, $12,395.52. Dixon's Environmental Compost Removal, $4,890.58. Dixon's Environmental Sludge Removal, $4,539.35. MW Controls Payment Request Number 24, $8,643.89. Streeter Associates Payment Request Number 6, $21,675. Under Housing Rehab Grant, Cassidy and Underwood, 34 Jefferson Street, $3,627.55. Move to approve.
Motion by trustee Labar to approve the special billings for the wastewater treatment plant and housing rehab grant.
Second.
I have a second from trustee Humphrey. Discussion. Hey, trustee Whitenack,
Aye.
trustee Labar,
Aye.
trustee Rittenhouse,
Aye.
trustee Humphrey,
Aye.
and the mayor's an aye.
Under bills, general, paid checks number 15046 and 15092 through 15102 in the amount of $43,713.43. We also audited checks in the amount of $66,021.91. Under water, we paid checks number 714 and number 733 through 737 in the amount of $12,460.09. Audited checks in the amount of $60,093.66. Under sewer, we paid checks number 641 and 650 through 654 in the amount of $11,456.87. We audited checks in the amount of $18,755.77. Under the MedX billing account payments, Livingston County EMS, January payment, $1,125. MedX invoice 2016-1, $1,560. Patient reimbursement, $34.67. Village of Dansville, December payment, $13,485.95. Dansville ambulance, December payment, $20,228.93. Are those two amounts accurate? I was going to ask Megan, but she's not here to ask.
Got the same question I got.
Yeah.
Saying that's
Well, those
40 is way off.
amounts are significantly higher than anything else we've seen previously, so
Wonder if it's the end of the year roundup.
that's, could be. I
Plus,
was-
they had that 1 month, they said they had to do all of it handwritten, so it probably went into 2 months worth of
Mhm.
It
payments.
could be.
Could be.
That's still significantly high, but in lieu of, Megan not being here, we'll wait.
You want
Move
to,
for payment of bills?
so you want to hold back on those two payments?
Well, move for payment of bills with confirmation of
Okay.
the last two,
Okay,
I agree with that.
yep, no
Yeah.
problem.
okay?
Confirm. Will do. Okay, I have a motion by trustee Labar,
I'd second that.
second by trustee Rittenhouse. Left and right. And any discussion? Okay. Trustee Humphrey,
Aye.
trustee Rittenhouse,
Aye.
trustee Labar,
Aye.
trustee Whitenack,
Aye.
and the mayor's an aye.
The one other thing I have is that hopefully in your packets, you have a spreadsheet. Looks like this.
May not,
Maybe not.
but I can give them right now.
Okay.
I can give 'em- And here's one for Dick. And you have one, I assume?
Yes.
Okay,
I've got one for the department heads also.
okay. I got an extra one here if you want it. Or I can give it to Megan if you want her to have it.
Yep, make it have it. Okay. You take this, Scott, and give one to Charlie. This is something I threw together because the timing of when our accountant is here doing the financial, end of month financial reports. We're always kind of left with having to rush through this, so I thought, I'd take a look at some of those items that are in kind of a suspect area. Suspect meaning they're getting low enough, or they're getting at a point that I think that we ought to draw attention to them. So I'm going to do this on a recurring basis every month, and then I'll get it out to everybody to take a look at. We can all kind of monitor, looking through here, where you're at for the counts that fall under your responsibility, and certainly we can have a discussion on them. But, this is just an extraction from the monthly financial reports and draw attention, again, to those items that perhaps are getting into an area that we ought to be taking a closer look at them. The one thing I will say that as you look through, the three funds down at the bottom, hospitalization insurance, not so much on the general fund, but if you look on the water fund and the sewer fund, we're getting down there. Percent remaining is, 31.6 and 27 for the sewer. And I know working through the bills, I just approved a number of vouchers for hospitalization insurance that were fairly significant. So what impact that has at the, based upon the end of the year figures, I don't know, but that's at least one line item that I'm going to be, taking a close look at and giving a lot of attention to.
It dropped about half, it dropped half, almost 50% from last month.
Yeah,
Both
Is that
accounts.
billing something that is a quarterly billing that would show that or something, or is that a monthly billing?
That's a monthly
monthly
billing.
billing, yeah. So.
Remember, the rates went up awfully high. What do we have, 11%? I wouldn't say awfully high, but they higher than we were projecting, I think.
About 50%.
I'll have to go over this with Megan the next day or two, when she gets back. That is a concern.
I think when you start looking over a lot of these, I think that you really start needing to make sure that everyone understands on the same thing, and if things aren't an emergency or a must-have, we need to start putting the binders on a lot of things through the end of the budget to make sure where we're at, where we need to be, in case we even have to pull from one to go to the other. I mean, I really think that we need to pump the brakes a little bit here.
Yeah, I'd be looking to the,
This is based on the budgeted amount, right?
this is based on the budgeted amount.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't put the dollar amounts in here. Maybe next time, easily I can put the dollar amount, maybe the budget amount and the dollar amount remaining
Yeah.
also. So we have those two
Well,
figures.
percentages, I think, do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the dollar amount is, if you use 100%, it's gonna be zero.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's like
know,
that
for
storm
instance,
sewer maintenance up there, 0.
yeah,
Can't miss that one.
on the water fund engineer contractual, we're at 0.
3.7 down, so it
And we
wasn't
had
much.
two vouchers, in total over $2,000 that I just signed off on this month, and we're already at 0. Engineer under sewer fund, 6.4% remaining. I don't know what the dollar equivalent of that is, but we had a voucher for $1,842.50. So we need to be obviously paying close attention to these.
So the voucher was that for the Austin Street, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They were MRB vouchers, but again, we got to look at how much is budgeted versus what we've approved, and I guess, we'll take whatever action's necessary, but we know where the budgets are, and
So from here on out, then the department heads need to know if it's not something that's a necessity, then it needs to
Yeah.
wait
Yeah.
point blank, because these are not gonna get any better.
no.
Percentages will not come back up.
I do have a question, and I can't hold back on it. We talked about it earlier.
Mhm.
Watering cans, Scott. I don't want to embarrass you here, but why do we need watering cans, 3 of them, this time of the year?
They use those to drain a diesel fuel tank at the shop.
Okay, all right.
So they use
That explains it.
What about the 100 sandbags?
Might need them. They have
Are
zero.
we going to use them up to the dam?
Well, actually, I was gonna use them up in the creek, but we did do some.
Well, I figure, yeah.
We don't have any on hand if we have emergency.
Yeah,
It's nice to have some sandbags.
I figure it to be something like that.
Yeah, that explains it.
And I bought
If
it-
somebody had just put a little note for diesel, that would made sense, I think.
Well, because I didn't know, I had to go down and ask the guy, so probably by the time I asked him.
Don't worry about it. You answered the question, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It just looked odd, that's it.
Looked at me, because there's no watering can there.
Water can in the middle of the winter?
Get ready for spring. It's foresight there.
Here's up to the planet,
I gotta see if we're going around with watering cans of water stuff, we're
But I mean, as long as
If you
everyone,
see Doug, ask what the watering can.
as long as everyone passes that along to their guys, like, hey, nothing bought unless needed
Yep.
and approved by Scott. Just because, I mean, it is getting that time of the year where,
Things are getting tight.
yeah.
Well, it's getting towards the end of the year, but yet we still have 5 months left, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
And the budget
Well,
is what the budget
we got
is.
4 plus, or, 4.5 left, so. we still got 25, 30% left, you know.
You still
Of
like
the
to see
year.
everything right around the 30% mark, keeps you right, like, we got a third left, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I got, is my A&B.
Moving right along. Public Works, Water and Sewer, Trustee Humphrey.
I don't have anything other than just a question I have. We did approve the,
The law, right?
yeah, for them to do for MRB to do the.
They would do the sewer law, throw in the
sewer law
water.
and right.
Scott,
And they're gonna throw in the water.
Scott's trying to finagle it so we don't have to pay anything.
They're gonna do what?
He's trying to finagle it so we don't have to pay anything.
Okay,
What you miss here is these. You weren't here for this whole ordeal here.
right.
I can talk to you later about that.
Okay.
We discussed it last month's meeting, or
Yeah.
last
So I
month's
don't,
meeting.
you know, as far as the committee goes, we're still in a hold.
Yeah,
on
understood.
that. So,
Scott, you have anything on the water sewer side for Robin? Or for all of us, I should say.
Everything's flowing well. Did we ever, I know we talked about, we approved the money at one point to do the, they came in at the one over here, and they were gonna go do Milton Street and all that. Did they ever?
I got
come
the
in?
other price, but I kinda held off.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we should wait a little bit on that if we had.
That's what I thought too.
Nice. Glad we're thinking.
You can wait till spring.
I just didn't know if it was done, because I know that we had said, hey, within whatever. But if we can hold
Breaks
off,
on.
yeah, okay, thank you.
So it's still in the mix, but you just haven't done anything
We'll
with
wait
it.
till
so.
later on and assess how we're at.
Okay, thank you. That's great.
Okay. Streets, Trustee Rittenhouse.
We had discussed the trailers. Is that something we want to pump the brakes for a little bit on, or? It's, I mean, we discussed the trailers last week in regards to moving around, and Rob and I had brought a couple of, I brought it with us tonight. Scott had talked with us in regards to moving the Mini around. If I know I threw it back in my folder, I'll find it for you. He gave us a couple of different quotes on a couple of trailers. My personal opinion is just looking at these numbers right now, and I know that it's not easy for what the guys are doing down there, but just looking at these numbers, I think that it would probably be beneficial for us to hold off for a little while on that trailer. I know that we haven't hit it now, but I know it's not,
I'm guessing with the weather, we probably, unless there's an emergency, which like a fire hydrant or something, or a water main,
yeah.
we probably aren't going to have to move around too much anyway, are we?
No, it's just that it takes a while to get it thrown
Yeah.
out.
And the other thing is I would like to maybe try to look to see what you could find in the used category. We discussed possibility the used category could be a lot cheaper. You know, if you find something that comes used, and there is some money, so maybe we can look at that. But I just think, just look at those numbers right there are a big shock. And I would, you know, my opinion, but it had come up and it was down here in regards to the trailers. That's just my opinion. I don't know if anyone else has any other. I mean, I would like to look to see if we can find something
If we could find
used or,
Used,
you know,
it was
or
reasonable,
maybe
why
by
not?
springtime, we might have a closer look at what the budget's really gonna be towards the end of the year and say, okay, there is the money in there to make that, because I do believe it's important. It would save time and everything. I don't like, you know, going the other way. It's just seeing those numbers really kind of make you go, oh, hang on a second.
No, I
But-
agree. Seeing the numbers, I think we need to hold off.
if we can find a used.
But I don't want it to go away.
Right,
So we
exactly.
can find a good used one
Right,
for a cheaper amount.
yeah, yeah, something, yeah.
Yeah. I agree with what's being said, you know, as far as holding off, but I also agree that it's important and it's something that's going to get a lot of use here,
I agree.
so we
I
should.
do agree with that.
We're not gonna forget about it.
Yeah.
Because
Maybe
the
put
big
it-
thing is we didn't get the backhoe, before we could just take the backhoe,
Yeah,
put the water main.
drive it right up the
Now we
street.
have the issue. That's
No,
our
and I agree.
That's our problem.
Yeah.
And I definitely respect that and everything, and I definitely want to, if we can find something a little cheaper or wait until a little closer to we can really get the actual end of the year numbers, just to make sure our budget can support that. So, moving forward, I don't want to take that off from our list. I want to keep it on our list so that we don't just forget about it,
Right.
but maybe just wait another month or two and see where we're at.
Okay.
Just my opinion. Other than that,
On hold.
Other than that, Scott, do you have anything else for the,
Yeah, NICEAG called me on the lights up on Highland Ave,
Mm-hmm.
and there are no transformers up there. So,
Which means
which means
money?
big money. Like,
That's on hold then too.
he wouldn't even give me a price. I mean, it was 800,000 per light.
What'd you say?
800 or $1,000.
Oh, I thought you said 800,000 for a light. I said, what?
No, I think that it's not that we're not willing to help the residents out up there, but at this point, we have to look at our financials, and it doesn't fit in there. And, I think that if, in the future, towards the end of the thing, if,
Well, I'll get a price too, a good price from him, so
We'll
we know.
take a look at it later, but.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, at
agree,
this
not
point.
right now.
Not right now.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard anything.
What are we
We're
putting
one
up there?
from
Was that
anyways.
two?
Two, yes.
Two, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Is there anything else, Scott?
Nope.
And there was the Parks and Recs meeting last night I missed. After my weekend, I was,
What?
There's no excuse.
well, there was excuses.
There's no excuses, mister.
No, don't.
I was working.
Yeah, I know.
You had a tough weekend. I fully understand.
Yep.
Yeah, we did have the meeting last night of the Parks Recreation Beautification Committee. There was only 3 of us here out of the 4, 5, 6, I forgot how many there actually are now. 6 anyway. The one guy wanted to move it to Mondays, one guy didn't show up. But we had a good conversation. We've sort of broken it down into the 2 really objectives we want to accomplish right off the bat. The easiest ones, obviously, to tackle. One is some sort of an Arbor Day celebration, and the other one is the looking at what we can do to spruce up the planters. I'm talking with Scott, but I think we came to a sort of a consensus on the planters. The only thing that should be in there are annuals, and we need to come up with an agreement. We
Yep.
can't find anything, so we're just going to have to make it up.
Yep.
And go with that. And these bushes and trees they put into planters that weren't meant for those need to come out. I would think also if we get something prepared in the spring, that might, and we get our permit ahead of time, and we're in a position, maybe that would be a good place to put some of the compost. That would
Dig them out, recompost them in,
Yeah.
and then enter into an agreement with each of those. And yes, I
Yeah.
will start moving forward with that.
On the Arbor Day issue, incident, this morning I come in and I had this in my mailbox, notice of availability of funds for Arbor Day Community Grant.
I was gonna say, I've
So
seen
it's only $1,000, but
money for
it
this.
goes to, let me see if I can get here. Eligible expenses are limited to trees, which, that makes sense. Mulch, soil, stakes, tree watering devices, you can get those bags you put around them, and printing of promotional materials. So that is something, we talked about doing something maybe over here in Church Park, if there's like, where they put the Christmas tree lights, except set them back a little ways. We could have maybe a little row of dogwoods. There was talk about, some of the other parks, maybe we want to put in a little grove of them. And
Well, there was a gentleman that came in last year,
That-
and they planted some, and he said
Yes,
he
that
wanted
was-
to do it every year.
That was Dan Foltz, he's on the committee, and
Okay,
he's still going ahead with that.
great.
He's got his little group, and they would be doing like these are bare root ones he has, and they're only about yay high. They're not very big, and their life expectancy or survival rate is 50%. And that's pretty much what it turned out to be this year, but they'll keep doing it until they get them all in. He'd like to see dogwoods up and down the whole parade route for the Dogwood Parade, eventually, someday.
Better get a lot planted.
Well, it's not going to happen overnight. He's also got a Facebook page where they're promoting this. And one thing I was going to look into today, but with Megan not here, was the GoFundMe program, so you get memorials or just donations. I'm not sure if there are any restrictions as far as municipalities go on that. But if we get people to make contributions for something like that. He says he's got about 400 people that friend him on the site and everything, so we'll see what happens. We'll take advantage of all of this.
Yeah.
I know I got some people that want to donate trees for his memorial, so that would be a good one too.
I'd like to donate a sign.
And the grant doesn't look too complicated. I've got all the information here. I can probably do it myself. And believe it or not, it goes to David Moore. I guess that's at Post Office Box 562, Lima, New York. Well, we'll see what we can get.
Just a comment on the planters. Would there be any value in coming up with a list of acceptable plants?
Yes, that's one of the things we were talking about,
Okay.
is what's
So
acceptable.
they're just not grabbing at random and
No,
they're
the
working
idea
from
is,
a list?
I will talk with Chris Gunn or one of the people down at Eggway
Okay.
and get their recommendations, whoever their florist down there is,
Yep.
or the flower person. And what we were talking about looking at is we want annuals. Annuals tend to flower a lot longer than, say, a perennial. And you can get them either seasonal, or you could get them something that will last the whole season, or at least the bulk of the late spring, summer, and fall. And we'll make that part of the conditions. They gotta maintain the beds, and they gotta have something in there that's more or less flowering all the time for the season.
And I had a gentleman approach me yesterday, and he takes care of the planter in front of the Java Jungle, and he just wanted to make sure, he's like, I take care of that for the Java Jungle, and I told him, I said, what I'm gonna be doing is doing a layout of all of them. They'll all be numbered in the, I wanna go back through to the businesses and ask them first and foremost,
Yep.
are you willing to take this on to beautify your restaurant or your business of sorts? And, I said, so if the Java Jungle would like you to do their planter, then that's between you and the Java Jungle, so we're happy with that the planter's getting taken care of. So what I need to do is just come down through there and just lay the whole thing out and see where all the planters are, and then go back to those businesses and see if they want them. But, you know,
Maybe we could run a little contest, you know, between the various planters and give them a plaque or something. Well, whatever
maybe
it takes,
you could
whatever
do
it takes,
that.
whatever it takes to energize, to have them support the project. I mean, you're talking, you know, I mean, really. You
Well,
know,
it's
give
supporting
them some
their business.
recognition. They could, you know, give them a piece of plaque or something and
Sounds
put in the
kind of
planter.
Minuscule, but I agree.
You know,
You know, it's
yeah.
something to take pride in.
Absolutely.
I think what we also need to do, Scott, is figure out a watering system here. It's difficult, particularly for older people, to keep hauling water downtown. And
The last couple of years, it's been, really haven't needed to.
No, we haven't, but I think we need to be prepared for that eventuality, that there will be summers where it gets awfully dry.
well, and then, I see, that's where, you know, we have these huge planters. Village of Geneseo has baskets that hang,
Yeah.
and they come down through in a truck every morning, and I'm going into work, and I pass them every day, and they're watering them. But they're talking little planters,
Yeah.
or, you know, little baskets.
And you just pump it
I
out
think
of the
that-
tank.
You'd have to come up through there with some of this, as many planters as we have.
Mhm.
You'd have to bring a fire truck up somewhere and wash the, you know, to water them. I mean, I think that's a little much, wouldn't you think, Scott, if you're gonna water all those planters?
The three I water, when I have to water them, and I got lucky I didn't have to water Paradise Alley this year. But when I water the other three that I do, it's 20 gallons.
Yeah.
And two of those planters are the smaller ones. One's the bigger one from the old Madrid, the other two are the smaller ones by Clockworks and Anderson Jewelers. And it's 20 gallons to get those three planters done. And if I had to water, and I started estimating, if I have to start watering, you might have saved me, I might not have to, depending on what you put in there for flowers, so it might be done. But if I have to water Paradise Alley, I would probably go close to 80 gallons.
I mean, I'm still,
Keep on watering, chief, we'll take
I'm
the
still
money.
in the assumption that we have too many planters on Main Street. I think
Well, we
there's
may be, but until we
too
get,
many of them.
until we get something where it's, looks a little nicer, a little different arrangement, I guess.
No, we got to do something with this strip over here where all the berries are all over the street.
Yeah.
That's a mess.
Up there by the, is that the one up by the radio station?
There's
The old beneficial.
Chainsaw.
Beneficial?
In that area.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. It was on the side.
Oh, I terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh, wait,
okay.
down past,
Yeah.
Those-
We'll work through that, though. We
Yeah.
can stand here till midnight talking about this, but we'll work through
think
all
Dan
this.
wants to
No,
go
I was just
home.
thinking 9 o'clock. I wasn't thinking midnight.
I think he's ready for some sleep.
Anything else on that?
No, that's all I got right at the moment. We'll proceed ahead and see what we can get going. Oh, by the way, Arbor Day is the 27th or the 29th? 29th of, let me check here, it's a Friday of April, 29th. We don't have to have our ceremony that day, but I'd just like to do it on the day.
Arbor Day and Earth Day the same day, or are they two?
No, they're a week apart.
Okay, that's all we had.
Okay. Under technology, really don't have anything right now. I'm waiting for some information from one of our vendors so I can proceed with our budget, but other than that, there's nothing really there. Under unfinished business, we all know what the claim is. We don't have to go into executive session to vote on it. Unless somebody wants to argue about it. Everybody saw the copy of the release that I sent to you?
There's nothing that says it can't be put out in public.
Nothing? That was the question we had last time around, Robin, is whether or not there'd be a non-disclosure statement with that, and there isn't.
And see how it's on there. I think that's there's not.
Yep. So, I will entertain a motion to approve that release.
So moved.
Okay, trustee Humphrey made a motion.
Take the bull by the horn.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. How's that?
Really? Like
Really?
keepers over there.
Okay.
Really?
All right. Any further discussion on this particular topic? Anybody wants to get into it? I think we all know how we feel about it. Okay. Not hearing any. Trustee Whitenack.
I abstain.
Okay. Trustee Labar.
Aye.
I got to change that. It ain't gonna look right if I have an A there. Okay. Trustee Labar's an aye. Trustee Rittenhouse.
Aye.
Trustee Humphrey.
Aye.
And the mayor's an aye. So it passes 4-0 with one abstention. Okay. That's done and over with. And then there was the business with that $50,000 that was loaned at the last minute by from the general fund to the water fund to pay the bills. We're sort of a little bit late on this one, as I explained last week, but it was that'll get into trouble, I guess.
Yeah. Motion to do this.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Rittenhouse. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Labar. Discussion. You need an explanation on that, Robin?
No, because we
Okay.
talked a little bit about it before that.
Okay.
Before last week.
All right.
So I'm guessing that's what it was about.
Yeah, just that the money turned up, didn't come in to help
Right.
us pay, so
Yep.
Megan just made a decision on her own, but she told me right afterwards. I wasn't around at the time she came in. When I
Well,
was.
we asked, didn't we, the meeting before last, did we tell
Well,
her
we had
if
two-
she felt comfortable doing that, then do it?
Yeah, well, but we've always wanted to make sure the board had a say on
Right.
that. But this was one of those cases where with those two funds, it was rather low. Okay. Okay. Trustee Whitenack.
Aye.
Trustee Labar.
Aye.
Trustee Rittenhouse.
Aye.
Trustee Humphrey.
Aye.
And the mayor's an aye. So we got all ayes on that, 4-0. Okay, now, under new business, the only thing I thought of is an RFP for the summer rec program. We've been doing it with the community center right along. There haven't been any problems, although they did come in with a request to add another 5,000 this year, but that's something we'll need to discuss before we probably go out for the RFP. But we probably ought to get something out soon so that whoever,
We don't have the budget.
I don't think we
It
can,
is.
Mayor.
okay,
If you want to address it now.
They asked for
get
an
it up.
increase last year, and
we didn't give it then.
Right.
we didn't approve it.
We don't have it.
We just don't have
Yeah,
it. That's
so
right.
leave it at 20.
It was our position last
Right.
year.
20 or don't do it. I mean, I don't know what
Right.
else we're supposed to do.
That's what I recommend.
I mean,
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a good program, he runs a good ship, but we just don't have it.
I'll explain it to Sean, you'll just have to understand it. So much money, it ain't coming in. You can't, gotta keep going to the trough, because there's not a lot out there.
trough is dry. Scott, can you water the trough while you're there?
We ain't got any left.
So with your approval, gentlemen, I will go ahead and get an RFP out. I suspect that the community center will probably be the only ones that
Need
respond
a
to.
motion on that?
Let's go ahead and have one.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion from trustee Rittenhouse,
Second.
second from trustee Humphrey. Discussion? Trustee Whitenack?
Aye.
Trustee Labar?
Aye.
Trustee Rittenhouse?
Aye.
And Trustee Humphrey?
Aye.
All ayes. Okay. And at this point, is there any other business to be brought before the board by any of the trustees? Before I ask for community comments.
I'm good.
Are there any community comments?
I have a couple questions.
Certainly.
Since we're gonna have a public hearing next month for the tax cap, could you explain a little bit more about that situation to me? Something about 0.12%?
Okay. The state of New York, what, I don't know how many years ago now, implemented a program. It was under Governor Cuomo, I think it was when he first came into office, setting a 2% tax cap. In other words, you cannot raise your tax levy more than 2%.
Not the tax rate.
No, not the
Tax
tax rate.
levy.
Tax levy.
Okay.
That's the actual amount of money that it all adds up to, which you're going out to tax people on. We have always kept it down to $12.99 every year. With the tax cap, and let me back up because I told you a minute ago, there are two indicators. The tax cap is set at 2% by the state. However, they also say it's the tax cap of 2% or the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, if I'm not mistaken, whichever is the lowest.
Okay.
And this year, it was definitely the CPI.
Because
So-
that's the 0.12.
Yeah, that's 0.12%, not 12%.
Okay.
So, which is, no, basically it's a flat rate.
Done.
Nothing. So if your assessments go up, that's considered part of the levy. So when if assessments go up at all, the money that we bring in, like this past year, we went over the tax cap without raising the tax rate. So if your house is assessed this year at $80,000 and you pay your 12.99 based on your $80,000 and your assessment goes to $85,000, we didn't raise the taxes, your assessment went up, but that money, your additional money that comes in the tax in your taxes makes us go over the tax cap. So all that we would, and that's not all, but one of the things you look at is you raise the tax cap for us. We have that meeting to raise it, so that if any assessments went up and that money does come in, we can utilize it.
Yep.
So it doesn't mean that we're going to change from the 12.99. It just means if assessments went up, we can actually utilize the money from the assessments. See, so we're going to want to use that to make our village beautiful, as pretty as our assessments are.
Okay.
You follow? You see what we're saying?
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean you're raising the tax rate.
Okay.
You're allowing yourself room to grow within your assessments.
Okay.
Because it happened last year. We have money in a savings account right now, correct?
Yep,
Because there's $1,000 sitting in an account because we went over the tax cap that we can't use that $1,000. It's just an account.
You had to take it out of our budget and put it in there.
Oh.
So no one's taxes went up based on a tax rate.
Okay.
But because an assessment somewhere along the way across the board went up, you can't utilize the money. So now the money of the villages is sitting in an account that we can't utilize. Now it is only a small amount. The only time we'll get a chance to utilize that $1,000 is when we come in under the tax. Then we can take that $1,000 out to add that money in.
Oh.
You follow me?
Yeah.
To offset
So,
the
to offset.
To offset it. Okay.
It's so again. This is just one of those things that the state's doing, but it's not to raise the tax. The percentage the
Tax
12.99.
rate. Okay. So nobody's taxes are going to go up.
That's not we're saying that.
No.
No, it may go up because
Pump
of
the brakes on
assessments.
that one.
Above the brakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't understand the difference between tax rate, tax assessment, and the tax cap, then come on over see me one day and I'll explain it to you.
Okay.
We have one of the higher assessments. No, I'm trying to remember.
Tax rates.
Lower assessment.
Tax rates.
Yeah, tax rates in the county, but we have one of the lower assessments. And generally, it works like that. If you have a high tax rate, then you have a low assessment, and vice versa. So, it all
It all
evens
goes out
out.
in the wash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ours are low. Our assessments are, so.
Maybe that would be best, just set up a meeting with the mayor. And he can
Yeah,
explain.
well,
And then we make sure we get it out to them the proper way, because it's not,
I want to make sure everything makes sense.
Well, it's a sensitive
Yeah.
issue, especially with the water rate increase, water and sewer.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't understand what the necessity was for that. And, you know, we
And they
talked
s-
about it then, is there's a lot of public relations that we needed to do. And the same thing with this situation. It's, people need to understand that, you know, the tax levy, the tax cap, the tax assessments, it's all
Yeah.
relative, but yet they're separate issues.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand it, so they get, when you say, well, we're going to override the tax cap, they say, oh, what, they're going to increase our taxes.
And that's
it's
not
not to say
necessarily.
that, but like I said, there's $1,000 sitting in an account right now that the
Yeah.
village can't use
Yeah, It's just,
because, you know, the state says we can't.
Something we have no control, had no control
Yeah.
over. Zero.
We went over the tax cap last year and no one's taxes went up.
Oh,
if you check with, throughout the state, you'll find that local government is probably the best keeper of taxpayer money than anybody else. We are very religious when it comes to watching how we spend it. We don't do it so frivolously. Because
As you heard tonight, we talked about slowing things down, canceling other ideas that we had. Let's wait till the end of the budget year comes in, and at the end of the budget year, if the money is there, but you know you can't be for sure it's going to be there, so let's just pump the brakes and slow down to make sure that we're good at the end of the year.
okay.
it's not like the federal government
You heard us
has.
talking about tonight.
Yeah.
As much as we don't want to, because it hurts in other places. It hurts our highway department's response times. But we've got to do what we've got to do within the money that we're allowed.
Yeah, we don't have any local debt, like national debt. In the trillions of dollars. We don't have
can't carry
anything
that
to
in
draw
the
upon.
village. You got to balance a budget
balance
and try to stay within it. And if we put a budget out there and then we just blow the budget up,
We do have debt, but it is part of the budget.
yes.
Right, it's built into the
Yeah.
Working debt. It's working debt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's working debt. You see the payments, and this month there was no bond payments, but you'll see those. That's our debt. And
Okay.
in 2017 is our first band bond payment. One of them comes off, and we start up until 2021. Some of our debt is going to be gone, and in 2021 is when the water treatment plant will be paid for, and that's debt that'll be moved on. You know, so I mean, we have to be very smart with our dollars, but it doesn't mean that we want to throw it out there that we're going to raise taxes. Not at all.
No.
Don't write that, please.
No.
So the
If you do
public.
attach Dan Rittenhouse.
No.
Keep Robin Humphrey
Charlie
off your own.
Perkins said,
I'll put his contact information in there.
they know where to find me, but the thing is it is a very touchy subject, but it's not that we're saying that we're going to raise people's tax rate. It's just that you have to take care of the tax cap so that if money from assessments go up, the village has the opportunity to utilize that money.
Okay.
And there's 5 people.
You understand that whole
Five people
thing?
on the board that.
If you don't,
that
don't
is
be
affected as
afraid to
well
call
by
me.
it.
Yeah,
So-
have them proofread it.
Yeah.
You had some other questions?
Yeah, I know you had an executive session before the regular meeting. Is there anything you can talk about?
Not at this time,
Not
no.
at this time?
No decision's been made from that yet.
Oh, so it's still on the table for you guys then. And the spreadsheet that trustee LaFar was talking about, what exactly is that?
That is just taking a look at of our budget figures. At the end of each line on our budget, there's usually a little percentage of how much is left.
Okay.
That's what this is.
Okay.
And these are
Certain
ones
line items are getting lower.
Yeah.
So we just want to really start watching them line items, because if they go obviously below zero, then we have to do budget modifications to take money from elsewheres to pay those. Hence the reason when we were discussing a trailer tonight, we said we were going to hold off, because if some of these go below zero, we may have to do budget modifications to move money out of other line items to cover those.
See, most of these are all below,
And if you
all of them
remember
are below
when
40%.
the new board started, when we started a new
Yeah,
fiscal
is
year.
that the number you used? Or?
Borrow
Roughly.
from, pay
Pretty
to.
much, yeah, I ballparked it, but yeah, I didn't go anything over it
We're
yet.
trying to actively keep track of that budget as the end of the year approaches to make sure that if one goes down to 5% in the negative, well, we've got to go find that money somewhere else within the budget to pay for it.
Okay.
but you can only trade, you can't trade inter funds, you can only trade within that fund. So the general account ones, we'd have to find money from within the general account. The water one, we gotta find money within water, and sewer within sewer. Hope that makes sense.
Anything else?
I wanted to talk more about the tax override, a tax cap. Would I talk to the whole board or
Talk to
just?
the mayor.
Just
Talk to me.
Mr. Mayor? Okay.
He's the one that educates us on a lot of the stuff.
Okay.
At least me.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions out there? If not, thank you very much, and I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing a particular employee's work history.
Second?
I have a motion from trustee Whitenack and a second from trustee Humphrey. Zach, okay, and that's at 8:53.
Yeah.